Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive with us.
Always fun.
Today we're going straight to the source for something that I think impacts, pretty much all of us,
Oh, for sure.
mental health at work.
Yeah.
And we're going to be looking at excerpts from the World Health Organization guidelines. So
Yeah.
really the most authoritative take you can get.
Absolutely.
So think of this deep dive as kind of your shortcut to understanding, how to make work better for your mental well-being.
Yeah, I think this is huge.
Yeah.
It's so important. It's fascinating how much attention this is finally getting,
Yeah.
Poor mental health in the workplace actually costs the global economy $1 trillion each year.
Wow.
$1 trillion.
That's a lot of money.
It's crazy.
Yeah, a trillion with a T.
Yeah, trillion with a T.
Okay, so let's kind of unpack that a little bit. The WHO guidelines say that 15% of working age adults are dealing with a mental health condition at any given time,
Wow.
which is,
That's a lot of people.
that's a huge chunk of the workforce.
It is.
We're talking everything from, anxiety, depression to bipolar disorder and schizophrenia.
Yeah, the whole gamut.
Have you ever just stopped and thought wow, how many people you work with might be facing these challenges?
Right?
It really puts things in perspective, I think.
Absolutely. And here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Work can either be good or bad for your mental health.
Oh, interesting.
The two-way street.
So it's not just about, leaving your work stress at the office.
Right.
It's about making sure that work itself isn't the source of that stress.
Exactly. On the one hand, meaningful work can be incredibly protective. It gives you that sense of accomplishment, boosts your confidence,
Right.
can even help people recover from mental health conditions they may already have.
Right.
But on the other hand, if your workplace is a nightmare,
Yeah.
crazy workload,
Yeah.
no control over your own schedule,
Mm.
toxic colleagues, all of that,
All the bad stuff.
it can be incredibly damaging. It can worsen existing conditions, even trigger new ones.
Yeah. What really stood out to me in the guidelines was how they talk about informal workers.
Oh, yeah.
So, people who might not have contract benefits or the same kind of protections as those in more traditional jobs.
Yeah.
Think of day laborers,
Mhm.
Independent contractors, people working in the gig economy.
For sure.
They often face even greater risks to their mental health.
Definitely.
It just made me realize how important it is to think about these issues in a broader context.
Absolutely.
You know?
And that's where the WHO's action plan comes in.
Okay.
These guidelines aren't just a one-off. They're part of a much larger strategy.
Wow.
It's called the Comprehensive Mental Health Action Plan 2013 to 2030.
Okay.
That's quite a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
But the gist is that they're aiming to make safe, mentally healthy work environments a reality for everyone around the world.
Okay.
And they're not just focusing on mental health in isolation either.
Oh, that's good.
They're also tying this into their global strategy on health, environment, and climate change.
Okay.
So basically, they're acknowledging that work plays a huge role in all sorts of health problems, not just mental ones.
Right. It's all connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do they propose tackling this massive issue?
Yeah. How do we even begin?
Right. Well, the guidelines recommend a three-pronged approach.
Okay.
They call for organizational interventions,
Okay.
manager training, and worker training.
All right. Let's break those down one by one. Starting with organizational interventions. What are some, concrete changes workplaces can implement to create a more mentally healthy environment?
Okay, so these interventions, they focus on addressing the root causes of work-related stress. For example, think about flexible working arrangements.
Yeah.
We've all become familiar with teleworking over the past few years,
Oh, yeah.
but the guidelines emphasize that it needs to be done right.
Okay, so it's not just letting people work from home in their pajamas.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Organizations need to provide the right support and resources to make teleworking truly beneficial.
Right.
Otherwise, it can backfire and actually harm people's mental health. Another key intervention is what they call participatory job design.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What does that even mean?
So it means giving workers a say in shaping their own roles and responsibilities.
Yeah, okay.
Imagine having a voice in designing your workday and tasks.
That's interesting.
Yeah, studies have shown that this kind of involvement can actually reduce mental health symptoms.
Oh, wow.
And of course, there are the basics like setting reasonable limits on overtime and ensuring people get enough breaks.
Right. We all know that feeling of being burned out from working too much.
Oh, yeah, tell me about it.
We've all been there.
Well, the guidelines are very clear that pushing people to the brink of burnout is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
It's not good for anyone,
Yeah.
neither the employees nor the organization. And it's particularly important to consider those who already have a diagnosed mental health condition.
So how do the guidelines address that?
They strongly advocate for reasonable accommodations. This means adapting the work environment.
Yeah.
Things like, task schedules or the physical space to better suit the needs of someone with a mental health condition. And it's not just about being nice.
Right.
It's about creating a truly inclusive workplace.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing everyone's right to work and ensuring they have the support they need to thrive.
Yeah.
This aligns with the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which emphasizes the ethical and human rights aspect of this approach.
Okay. So we've talked about changing the workplace itself, but what about the people who manage those workplaces? That's where manager training comes in, right?
Absolutely. The WHO recommends specific training to equip managers to be mental health allies, not just bosses.
I like that.
This is about more than just, delegating tasks and hitting deadlines.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the human beings on your team and creating a supportive environment.
So we're talking about like giving managers the tools to, actually spot the signs of mental distress in their employees, have those tough conversations, and guide people towards the resources they need. Yeah, I'm curious to know, like, how does this kind of training even work in practice?
Well, one of the key benefits is that it increases managers' knowledge about mental health,
Okay.
which helps reduce stigma in the workplace.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Think about it. When managers understand mental health better, they're less likely to dismiss it as just stress or see it as a weakness.
Right.
They can start to approach these issues with more empathy and understanding.
It's like shifting the whole workplace culture from one of silence and judgment to one of openness and support.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when employees see their manager taking mental health seriously,
Yeah.
they're more likely to feel comfortable seeking help themselves.
Yeah.
It creates a ripple effect throughout the whole team.
That's great. And I bet it has a positive impact on productivity too.
You're absolutely right.
Right.
There's actually research showing that manager training can have a significant return on investment.
Oh, wow.
One study showed that for every pound spent on training, companies saw nearly 10 pounds back in terms of reduced absenteeism and improved productivity.
Really?
Yeah. So it's not just the right thing to do for your employees.
Right.
It's also a smart business decision.
It's a win-win.
Exactly.
The guidelines specifically recommend this type of training for managers in high-risk occupations.
Yes.
Like healthcare emergency response and humanitarian work.
For sure. Those are some of the most demanding jobs.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Definitely.
Those are, some of the most demanding and stressful jobs out there.
Absolutely.
But even if you're not in one of those fields, I think we could all benefit from more supportive managers.
100%.
Right.
Now, the third piece of the puzzle is worker training.
Okay.
This focuses on mental health literacy and awareness for everyone in the workforce, not just managers.
Okay, so it's about giving everyone the tools to understand mental health, recognize the signs of distress in themselves and others,
Yeah.
and know where to go for help.
Exactly. The goal is to reduce stigma and create a more open and supportive culture around mental health.
I like that.
This training isn't about turning everyone into a therapist.
Right.
It's about empowering people to take care of themselves and their colleagues.
I love that. It's like creating a network of support within the workplace.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it reinforces the idea that mental health is everyone's responsibility,
Yes.
not just, the domain of HR or mental health professionals.
Absolutely. It's about making mental health a part of everyday conversations
Yeah.
and creating a culture where people feel comfortable speaking up if they're struggling.
And I'm sure some people listening are thinking, okay, this all sounds great in theory,
Right.
but does it actually work in real life?
Well, the guidelines actually include some great case studies that show how these interventions can make a real difference.
Okay.
One example that stood out to me involved a large manufacturing company
Okay.
that was struggling with high rates of absenteeism and mental health issues among its workers.
Yeah, factory work can be really tough, both physically and mentally. I can see how that environment could take a toll on people's well-being.
Exactly. So this company decided to implement a range of organizational interventions,
Okay.
including flexible working hours, more opportunities for employee input, and improved communication between managers and staff.
Okay, so they basically address those key areas we were just talking about.
Right.
Giving workers more control, improving communication, and promoting a better work-life balance.
Exactly.
And what happened?
The results were pretty impressive. They saw a significant drop in absenteeism.
Oh, wow.
Productivity went up,
That's great.
and workers reported feeling less stressed and more satisfied with their jobs.
Wow, that's amazing. It's inspiring to see that these interventions can actually work.
Yes.
and have a real impact on people's lives.
And it's not just anecdotal evidence. There's a growing body of research that supports the effectiveness of these types of interventions.
Oh, cool.
For example, studies have shown that participatory job design,
Okay.
remember that's the one where workers have a say in shaping their jobs,
Right, right.
can lead to significant reductions in stress and burnout.
So it's not just about making people feel good, it's about actually improving their mental health
Exactly.
in a measurable way.
And it's not just about the individual employees either. Creating a mentally healthy workplace has ripple effects throughout the whole organization.
Okay.
It can improve morale, boost teamwork, and even strengthen the company's reputation.
Right. Happier and healthier employees are more likely to be engaged, productive, and loyal.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
It creates a positive feedback loop, leading to a more successful and sustainable business overall.
I like that. What strikes me about these guidelines is the emphasis on human rights.
Yes.
It's not just about being a good employer, it's about recognizing the fundamental rights of every worker to a safe and healthy work environment.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
The guidelines are rooted in the principles of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities,
Okay.
which emphasizes the right to work and the right to reasonable accommodations.
It's about recognizing that everyone, regardless of their mental health status, deserves the opportunity to contribute to society and earn a living.
Exactly.
And it's about creating a work environment that supports their well-being and allows them to thrive.
Absolute.
Now, I know that putting these guidelines into practice is not going to be easy.
Right. It's a big undertaking.
It requires a shift in mindset and culture, both within organizations and in society as a whole.
It does. It's a long-term process, and it won't happen overnight.
Right.
But the guidelines provide a roadmap,
Okay.
a set of concrete steps we can take to move in the right direction.
I like that.
It's about starting the conversation, raising awareness, and challenging those outdated stigmas that still surround mental health.
And it's about investing in mental health, not just as a cost, but as an investment in the future of our workforce and our society as a whole.
Exactly.
Right. Now, it's also important to remember that these guidelines are just a starting point.
For sure.
They provide a solid foundation, but there's still a lot we don't know about mental health in the workplace.
Definitely.
The guidelines themselves highlight the need for more research,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to specific interventions and their effectiveness in different settings.
Absolutely.
So it's not about treating these guidelines as the final word,
Right.
but rather as a springboard for further exploration and innovation.
Exactly. There's a lot of exciting work being done in this field.
Ooh.
And we need to keep pushing the boundaries of knowledge and understanding.
I'm sure there are people listening to this who are feeling inspired to learn more.
I hope so.
What resources would you recommend for those who want to, delve deeper into this topic?
Well, the WTO guidelines themselves are a great place to start.
Okay.
They're available online for free, and they provide a comprehensive overview of the issues, the evidence, and the recommendations.
Great.
They might be a bit dense,
Okay.
but they're definitely worth checking out.
Okay.
There are also some fantastic organizations doing incredible work in this field.
Oh.
For example, the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, or NOH, in the U.S., has a wealth of information and resources specifically focused on workplace mental health.
Okay.
And don't forget, Mental Health America, or MHA.
Hmm.
Their website is a treasure trove of information and resources on mental health in general.
Okay.
And they have a section dedicated to workplace mental health.
Great. So many resources.
Yeah. And of course, there are local mental health organizations and healthcare providers who can offer guidance and support.
Perfect. So there are plenty of places to turn if you're looking to learn more or get involved in this issue.
Absolutely.
This deep dive has been a whirlwind of information. We've covered a lot of ground, from the global cost of poor mental health at work to the very specific interventions recommended by the WHO.
It's been a fascinating exploration.
It really has.
I hope our listeners are feeling empowered
Yeah.
to advocate for healthier work environments
For sure.
for themselves and for everyone around them.
As we're talking about all this, it's striking how much the way we work has changed, even in just the last few years.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We've got the rise of the gig economy, remote work becoming the norm for many,
Right.
and technology constantly, reshaping our jobs. I wonder, does all this make applying these guidelines even more challenging?
It definitely adds another layer of complexity.
Yeah.
The modern workplace is a whole new ballgame, and that brings a whole new set of challenges and opportunities for mental health.
Yeah. For example, the gig economy offers, a lot of flexibility and autonomy,
Yeah,
which can be great.
for sure.
but it often lacks those traditional support structures and benefits that protect workers' well-being.
That's right. And the lines between work life and personal life are getting blurrier,
Yeah,
especially with remote work.
totally.
It's awesome to work from anywhere,
Oh, yeah.
but it's also easy to feel like you're always on, never truly switching off.
I've definitely felt that myself.
Yeah.
It's like your brain never gets a break. And that can lead to burnout, anxiety, and a whole host of other issues.
Exactly. And then there's technology, which can be a fantastic tool for connecting and collaborating.
Right.
But it can also be a huge source of stress and distraction.
Yeah.
We're constantly bombarded with notifications, emails, messages.
Yeah.
It's no wonder so many people feel overwhelmed.
Yeah. It's like we're all juggling chainsaws while riding a unicycle on a tightrope.
Uh-huh. Pretty much.
Okay. Maybe not that dramatic, but you get the point. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
The modern workplace is demanding, and we need to be more mindful than ever about how we approach mental health.
So it's not just about taking the WHO guidelines and applying them as is,
Right.
but also about thinking critically about how they can be adapted to these new realities of work.
Precisely. For example, how do we create a sense of community and connection when everyone's working remotely?
Yeah, that's a good question.
How do we ensure gig workers have access to mental health resources and support?
Right.
How do we manage the constant digital distractions that are vying for our attention?
These are big questions, and I don't think there are any easy answers.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's important to start asking those questions and exploring different solutions. What stands out to you in the guidelines when you think about this, changing landscape of work?
For me, it's that emphasis on worker empowerment.
Okay.
The guidelines talk a lot about giving workers a voice.
Yeah.
Whether it's through participatory job design,
Yeah.
training them to recognize and manage their own mental health,
Right.
or advocating for more supportive policies within their workplaces.
That resonates with me too. It's like,
Yeah.
even though work can feel overwhelming and out of our control at times,
Right.
these guidelines are reminding us that we actually have more agency than we might think.
Right. It's a reminder that we're not just cogs in a machine.
Right.
We have the power to shape our work experiences and advocate for change.
I like that.
And it's not just up to employers and policymakers either.
Right.
We all have a role to play in creating healthier and more supportive work environments.
Absolutely. We can start by, advocating for change within our own workplaces,
Yes.
supporting our colleagues, and prioritizing our own mental health.
And don't underestimate the power of small changes.
Yeah.
Setting boundaries,
Yeah.
managing your time effectively,
Yeah.
and incorporating self-care practices into your routine
Right.
can make a huge difference.
Totally.
And we can challenge the stigma surrounding mental health
Yeah.
by speaking openly about our own experiences and encouraging others to do the same.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I'm feeling a sense of both urgency and hope.
I agree.
The challenges are real and the stakes are high when it comes to mental health at work.
Definitely.
But I also believe that we have the knowledge, the tools, and the collective will to create a better future of work.
Yeah.
A future where mental well-being is truly valued and prioritized.
I agree. These WHO guidelines are a powerful catalyst for change, and they're already generating important conversations around the world.
Yeah.
But it's up to all of us to keep that momentum going.
So let's keep learning, keep talking, and keep pushing for progress.
Absolutely.
Because a healthier, more humane world of work is within our reach.
It is. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay well.
Take care, deep divers.